I've told him that he had my back, and I have his back forever. This is my friend. And the reason why I started off saying that this story, this case, this Central Park jogger case that we've known from 30 years ago is actually a love story between God and his people. Imagine a person not even being a suspect to bumping into the real perpetrator of the crime. To the real perpetrator of the crime, saying that he had been trying to atone for all of the sins and atrocities that he had been doing. He was speaking to Cynthia McFadden on Channel 7 Eyewitness News. And he said that the night that this crime happened, he was in Central Park. This story came out after they did not want to hear what he had to say. He had to go on and solve a few unsolved cold cases that they didn't even know who did the crime. He had to solve those cases for them and confess to those crimes. See, the worst thing about rape, though, is that rape has a statute of limitations. I have 7 daughters. There should be no statute. It should be removed. Matias Reyes can never be charged with raping the Central Park jogger. The statute of limitation is 7 years. It was 13 years. Look at God. Look at God. 13 is one of the most unlucky numbers in America. Matter of fact, most buildings don't even have a 13th floor. It goes 12, 12 and a half, 14. Or they just skip it all together. People be like, I gotta work what day? Friday the 13th? I got a little cold. I'm not gonna be able to make it in today. 13 years later, the truth comes out. Matias Reyes talks about how he followed the jogger. And I want our young women in the audience especially to understand something. When our parents told us to keep one ear on and one ear off in terms of our headphones, listen to what Matias Reyes said. He said she was playing music in her ears so loud, I could hear what she was playing. He said when she made that left on 102nd Street, he struck her in the head with a tree branch. She didn't even know he was there. Then he drug off into the woods, tied her up with her own jogging outfit, and had his way with her after beating her in the head with a rock. He then takes her headphones with her music playing and puts it on his head and starts walking out of the park. Police officers came upon him and stopped him. This is when it gets interesting. He said they shined their light on my face and said, hey, have you seen any young people in the park tonight? He said, no. They then said to him, well, get out of the park, man. It's a little crazy in the park tonight. He said, okay. Then he tells Cynthia McFadden, had they shined their light on me from my waist down, they would have seen that I was bloody from the waist down. I say that because the night that this incident happened, Raymond Santana and Kevin Richardson were arrested. They were arrested because they were in the park too late. They were going to get desk appearance tickets, and their mother and fathers were supposed to come and get them and take them home. And then they found the jogger, and it became a full stop. Any black man will do. This is how they move. She lost 3/5 of her blood. Nobody had any evidence on it. If you haven't seen the whole series, you at least seen part of part 1 where they struck Kevin Richardson over the head with the helmet. When we saw Kevin, we saw him with a mark on his face. Those of us who are wise enough to remember, we know also that he was on videotape falsely confessing saying that I was struggling with the jogger. And this is where she got me, she scratched me. But now as our pseudo-experts in forensics, what do we find out? That there should have been some skin underneath her fingernails that matched his skin. That wasn't there. They used technology throughout this whole case. They were using stuff like big, bold titles saying DNA evidence in this case. And when the DNA came back that it didn't match any one of us, it was in smaller headlines, and if you wouldn't pick up the paper that day, you just didn't see it. This is one of the reasons why Donald Trump is still saying that we had to have some kind of involvement. We couldn't have just been completely innocent. The reality is that we were guilty because of the color of our skin. A black person can never be disowned. But if you happen to have the name like Dylan Roof, you could shoot up a whole church. You could get captured alive. They could say, listen, we gotta take you in because you know optics. But want some McDonald's? But if your name happens to be Eric Gardner, if your name happens to be Tamir Rice, if your name happens to be Shakisha Clemens, she survived. And she's just in a Waffle House in Saraland, Alabama saying, hey, can I get some utensils to eat my meal? They arrest her and rip her shirt off and charge her with a crime. But Eric Gardner, you know, as I've traveled around the nation speaking, there's a common thread that I've found on every single cop car. They are the words in some form or fashion to serve and protect. But see, in New York City, it goes a step further. Not only do they have the words to serve and protect, but they also have these three ideals on the side of the cop car. Those words are courtesy, professionalism, and respect. Now I mention this because if you can understand that here Eric Gardner was just not committing no real crime. The officer then puts him in an illegal chokehold. He says, I can't breathe, and we all saw him expire on TV or social media. It became a mantra for the nation, I can't breathe. They didn't give him the first letters over that cop car. They didn't give him CPR. This is what we're dealing with. The education that black people in America have to deal with is a parallel education where we need to learn about ourselves and our history and our culture to restore the greatness of who and what we are, at the same time learning about what they want to teach us. We can't take what they teach us as being the end-all and be-all. Because for one, slavery didn't start our history. We go into this history in twofold. One is that there were many of us that were robbed of our language, robbed of our culture, robbed of our God, and brought over here as chattel slaves, and told that this is all that we were and all that we will ever be. God told us to be, and we are. And I'm telling you that sometimes you may find yourself in so-called dark places. There's always a light somewhere in the dark. And oftentimes that light is inside you. And you can illuminate your own darkness and shine your light on the world. My good friend Les Brown, he told me personally, he said, Yusef, you know, when you fall in life, not if you fall, but when you fall in life, try to land on your back. Because if you can look up, you can get up. You know? We gotta know that we got comeback power. They gave me lemons in life, and not only did I make some lemonade, I started juggling them lemons, making it look cool. See, I was listening to the immortal words of Cardi B. She said, fall down 9 times, get up 10. I mean, hey, it's science, right? You can't stay down. When my mother came to the precinct, when she took me out of that room, she didn't have a lot of time. My mother she didn't say, how you doing, baby? Are you okay? How they treat you in here? My mother said, proper instructions. Stop talking to them. I might have said, but Mom, but she said, they need you in order to participate in whatever it is that they're trying to do. Do not participate. This is the only reason why I never made a written or videotaped confession. Long before I knew what stand my ground was, I was standing my ground. God had a different purpose. God wanted to make us victorious. God wanted to make us look good. Because I never forget, when I came home from prison, I heard there was a job for me. And I knew that everybody says that you shouldn't judge a book by the cover. But I believe everybody judges the book by the cover. Mm-hmm. So I said, I'm gonna go get me a suit. I'm gonna try to look as best I can. And I went to 125th Street, went into a suit supply store. Not suit supply, I'm sorry, edit that part out of the thing, because suit supply is where I get my suits now. Suit supply is the truth. Especially when you get that custom fitting stuff, you know what I'm saying? But I went into a suit store, and the guy in the back looked at me, he saw me from deep, he said, wow, 44 long, right? I said, oh, sure, it's okay. He said, come on in the back, brother. Went in the back, brother tried a suit jacket on. Looked at it, I said, I don't know about this one, but okay. Who makes it? I had enough time to look at the man, and I swear it was like time had stood still. He had been gathering himself and pulled at his lapels and was clearing his throat and puffing his chest out as he began to formulate the words. He said, that's a Donald Trump suit. Every time I think about that, this is like so crazy that it really happened to me. That should have been in the film, I'm sorry. Man, I threw that jacket off so fast. Listen, my time is up, and I just want to share this last piece of poetry. This poem is called The Blank Canvas. It is not my poem, but it's a poem that was given to me by another young man. When I met him in 1995, he had already done 12 years for a crime that he didn't commit. And he wrote it in a card and gave it to me. He said, brother, you know, this is for you. And I said, wow, can I use this? He said, use it. Use it for yourself, that's yours. And I said, no, I'm gonna always attribute it to where it came from. And so this is called The Blank Canvas. Each of us are born into the world like a blank canvas. And everybody that comes across our path takes up their brush and leaves a mark on our surface. And this is how we develop and grow. But there comes a time that we have to pick up our own brush and determine who and what we will be. Just another painting or a masterpiece? Thank you.